All right, Larry. Whew, that was a project, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if it was my device or what, but I don't know.
Yeah, we got Jason to work with his phone, so we're thinking maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll just do like the interview with you, and it's not live or anything, so we'll just go what we normally do, and
yeah. So for people listening, we're trying to do a lot. We were trying to do a live video, and have Larry join the room here, and we were going to put it up on Facebook for you live, where you can ask questions and stuff, and have it pop up on the screen. We can ask Larry stuff, but some technical difficulties, and this is our first time ever doing it, my first time, so you know how first times go. Sometimes we're doing it the old-fashioned way.
Thanks, Larry, for being patient anyway.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
That's all right. Next time I'll bring my my laptop in or something. That way I sort of know it works.
Yeah, we should have forewarned you, but it was a last-minute decision on our part, and
paid for effort.
So anyway, Larry, let's kind of get into the racing side of things here, and we're just gonna go with it, and kind of like we normally ask everybody is kind of when you got into RC, when you got started, and we'll kind of flow through this and get into the later stuff. But what kind of got you going in RC?
Yeah, well, it was many years ago, probably about 30 years ago. My uncle bought me a Tamiya kit from Costco, our Price Club back then.
Oh, wow.
And it was a Tamiya Frog with a stick controller, a Tamiya nickel metal battery, NiCad battery back then, I guess, and a dial charger. So I was probably 16 or so back then, and got that, and the rest is history. So I don't know, probably a $300 kit back then, and now it's morphed into 2 hobby shops.
Were you bugging your dad for an RC car? Or
no, it was actually my uncle.
Oh.
So my parents and my uncle ran a small market in a small town here in Arizona, and they worked together. We all lived together. So my cousins and my brothers and sisters and I all kind of lived together, within stone's throw distance of each other. And he bought it for me, and for Christmas, I think it was. And, the rest is history. We built that thing. I drove that thing pretty much till it was dead. It wouldn't go anymore. Couldn't afford any of the cool hop up parts. Like, remember Thorpe's made the universals and the ball diff and stuff like that. I couldn't afford any of that stuff. So just drove it to those octagonal hex drives on a Tamiya Frog were round.
So you had the full experience there, huh?
Yeah, and from that, since I couldn't get any parts from the little town I was at, ended up with a Gold Pan RC10 bushing version car with the big green wiper arm. So that was my first real, I guess, race car that I didn't race. I just played with in the backyard. But, then went to school, worked at a hobby shop up here in Phoenix, at a hobby town, while I was going to school. Ended up finishing my school down in Tucson, raced a little bit down there. So I've been in and out of the hobby for many years. Then decided to buy a local, just a brick and mortar hobby shop with no track here in Tempe, probably about 6-7 years ago now. Did that for a little bit, this little 2,000 square foot shop. Now, still a hobby action, but started there. And then, 4 years ago now, decided to build a racetrack and RC, hobby shop with a bunch of parts, and we're at where we're at.
So that, what year was that first location started?
The first location was started in 2002. 2003, by Craig Nelson and his wife. And then I bought that in, what would it be, 14, I guess, 2013, somewhere around there.
Which place do you primarily visit? You go to both or each day, or where do you primarily go?
Right now, since the COVID stuff happened, most of my time is spent here at the racetrack. I do try to get over to the Tempe shop once in a while. I actually won't be over there tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. But I try to get over there at least once or twice a week, checking with those guys and make sure everything's going well over there. Nick, my partner here at Chandler, he goes between both stores, so he kind of keeps that one running and up to par, and I kind of keep this one going and making sure we got product in here and the newest, latest, and greatest stuff in both shops. So,
what so you say that you spend more of your time especially recently at the trackside version, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the difference in product lines between the two stores there?
It is night and day. Like we were talking about it the other day here at this shop about the product, and I said, "Oh, we're the cool nerds because we do RC, because I'm an RC guy and I've always been an RC guy." But the Tempe shop is more of a hobby shop where we'll have models. Like the big thing right now that is going killer for us is Gundam models. So they're kind of like Japanese robots. I don't know if you guys have seen those things or not.
Yeah, I've seen them.
But they're crazy. They have their own little cult following. We got guys coming up from all over the valley going to the Tempe shop to pick up stuff. And then we have our RC planes, multi-rotor stuff over there, and then our entry-level line, Traxxas line, all the Basher stuff is over at the Tempe shop. With the COVID stuff and us being kind of closed for essentially about a month and a half, over here at the Chandler shop, we kind of knocked down a wall and expanded the hobby shop. So we're trying to get some of that stuff over here. So instead of the Chandler store being a pro shop, we're trying to make this into a little bit more of a all-around hobby shop with the same Gundam models and airplanes and crawler stuff and all the cool stuff people come looking for.
So you're gonna add, it's already added, or you're going to add that too?
It is getting added slowly. So we have models already that we've kind of blown through that first shipment, because, like I said, the Gundam guys are crazy about those models, and they'll travel just about anywhere to get the latest and greatest model.
What?
But we're expanding our crawler section here, and our boats and airplanes. So next time you're in here, Jason, you'll see what we did. I say we have the longest hobby shop now in the world. From end to end now, the hobby shop's like 120 feet or something like that.
Wow.
So when you go into the new section, did you put like an opening in then?
No. So if you guys have ever been here to the track, we had that little party room off to the side of the store. So we took that wall down. So when we originally designed the store, there was a plan to potentially expand the store. So we made that wall so we could take it down. So that's what happened. So the party room is gone, and it now houses all of our Traxxas products and airplanes and stuff. But there's no separation or hole. So that wall, which was probably 26 foot high, is now no longer there. So a little bit of work in a month and a half. So, but I think it's pretty cool. We got a bunch of new shelves, and slowly getting product on the wall.
You think it's gonna change your clientele coming into the shop, and maybe mix it up a little bit more too, right?
Yeah, I think kind of like how the area that we're in is not I wouldn't say we're like a normal racetrack hobby shop at our location. So we get a lot of walking traffic, families walking in and see what we're doing. So, the thought process originally when I built this thing, however many years ago it was, 4 years ago, was to have a full-blown hobby shop. So we had everything, and just, trying to get it up and running and having the financial flexibility to do it just wasn't kind of in the cards to begin with. But we're able to do some stuff and get some more product in the store. So, at this point, I would say we're on our way to becoming more of a hobby shop than a pro shop.
Okay. I mean, I would think that would be an improvement too.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's pretty cool. And, like when we have our big races, or even when we have our normal club racing, we have tons of families just walk in to see what's going on. Have no idea what RC is or why there's an RC, why there's, a big pile of dirt in the back. So they come in and see what we have, and they'll stand around on the watch for a little bit and maybe do a little shopping. And hopefully this way they can buy, their rockets, or if they want to buy a new RC car or whatever, they will have it. And, you don't have to go head first into a race car.
And as far as running the track itself, obviously for people that haven't been there, it's definitely one of the nicest, if not the nicest facility. I'm sure you've heard that a couple times, right?
Yeah, a couple times. So it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear when we have people coming from, all over the world, or have traveled all over the world, and they say that it's pretty cool to hear that we have one of the nice facilities that they go to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really new, fresh building. You walk in, you got the automatic double doors open. The shop is right there, like you were kind of describing earlier. And then you got to walk through the shop to get into the track area. And it's also a pretty large size track. So what dimensions are you working with on the racetrack inside? It's got 2 poles in it, right? Two poles?
It has 4 poles in it. I had to look at our cameras. It has 4 poles in it, but the track dimension from wall to wall is 100 by 75.
Okay.
I believe. So yeah, it's not small. It's not big. It's kind of in between there on the length. But I think we have a little bit of depth on some of the other tracks. Like I think OCRC is like 125 by 65 or something like that. So they're a little bit longer than us, but we're a little bit wider than they are. So square footage wise, I think we're probably about the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and then you custom built really obviously the whole thing out in there, and you kind of have the way the driver stand's positioned. You went with like a concrete ramp up on one side. And then, you have it's not a super tall stand. What is that, about maybe 5 feet tall, 6 feet tall off the track?
Yeah, I think the stand is about 5 foot from where your feet are to kind of the racing surface, or to where actually probably the concrete is. And that was kind of dictate a couple of things when we laid out the shop. Obviously, we had to make it ADA accessible. So we had to build this, enormously long ramp. So to meet the rise and fall of that ramp, it kind of dictated of how tall that driver stand would be. And it just kind of worked out to being, kind of the appropriate sizes. It probably could have been a little bit taller, but it's pretty good, I think, in my opinion, that it works out well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's
huge.
Yeah, I think one of the nice things about it is the depth you got up there. It gives plenty of room for everybody to walk around, and a nice ramp coming down. And then obviously you got the stairs on the other side. So you got a nice flow around there. And, definitely one of the better ones.
Yeah, I think when we laid it out, it just kind of worked out that way where, when I was talking with my architect, which was my brother, we kind of thought of things that, traveling to different tracks and seeing what certain tracks did well and certain tracks didn't do. I kind of had all those things in my head. I wanted to have a pretty wide driver stand and something where if someone were to walk off of it, they're not, running into the back of you or something like that, or, just something comfortable, and having it pretty wide was just a plus because, we had all that room, and we had to build, the walls already. So the way the ramp worked and the length and width and how we use concrete, it just worked out the way, it just ended up being kind of ideal situation where we're able to make it pretty big and pretty comfortable for people.
Yeah, I think it's a great setup. I enjoy being there every single time. And talk to us about how you laid out the pit area and how many spots you got and everything in there.
Yeah. So one of the other things that, going to some of the facilities that we travel to, they get kind of pretty tight. So, I'm not the fleetest of foot. So when you're trying to squeeze through, like a little 2-foot section and the chairs are kind of back to back, it gets a little bit tough, or you're dragging your stuff out after you finish, for me, it finished the H main or whatever, and I'm ready to go home. I wanted room in our facility to kind of, you didn't have to, run into someone or ask someone to move all their stuff for you to get out. So our pit area is pretty wide. Like the spots between when you're back to back, it's pretty wide. You can sit comfortably and still be able to get out if you're all the way in at the end and not have to rub your belly against someone's back or anything like that. But works out. I think our spots are 4 foot wide, about probably, 2 foot deep. And we have 153 of those spots. And everyone gets an outlet. So it works out pretty well. During our big events, it's usually pretty full. We haven't had any issues. I think there are a couple of races where we had to have some overflow tables out just because, people have mechanics and family and that stuff. So, but it's worked out pretty well.
And so when was that location open? When did we have that first Desert Classic?
Ooh, you didn't put me on the spot. I think this year was year 4.
What is it, 15, 16?
No, that would be...
Maybe
17? 18?
17.
I don't know.
17. That must be what it is. Yeah.
I can't remember. Right now, it's all my days are all mixed up. I don't even know what day it is or what day of the month it is.
Same.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like kind of our first race. So when we built this thing, we had like a year to about 6 months or 8 months to build it is what I kind of scheduled to build. And unfortunately, one of the local tracks here, which had one of the bigger races of the year, which was a Desert Classic, kind of, closed up. And it was an opportunity for us to kind of use that date or use, that time frame to open our facility. The crazy thing about it is, during construction, nothing ever goes as planned. So we were set to open or trying to open in November, at the end of November, so we can get that Christmas rush. Then we were at the end of December, and then we're at the end of January, and like my stress level, sweating bullets at night. What do we do? Because we're going to host, the first annual Desert Classic, the first week in March or the second week of March or whatever it was, and we weren't open yet. So it was a little crazy. I think we opened our doors February like 29th or something like that, and the race was like 8 days later or 9 days later. So we opened our doors, and then we had like 300 entries, within 10 days of us opening. So that was a little crazy. That first event that we had ups and downs and craziness going about, but we were able to kind of pull it off and go from there.
And I remember the race actually, I thought went really well, that first one. It was kind of a little bit of a scramble because we were trying to figure out, we were like, all right, which tires are we going to run, and what, how are we going to do this and how are we going to do that? But it came together, and it was a really fun race. And it definitely had a real highly competitive vibe at that, at that first one. We had some international guys, and it was a good race.
Yeah, it was crazy. I just remember, we had the dirt in here for probably about a month and a half before we actually opened our doors, and we had guys in there running on the track with just, I don't know, about every compound and tread pattern that anyone ever made, just trying to figure out what would work. But yeah, and then we get to the race, and then it's totally different. Once you get 300 racers running on the track, it just changes, from 1 hour to the next. So
yeah,
it was interesting. It was fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was a really fun event. And then we had a situation where our host track for one of our events, which was A Main Hobbies, their facility, they decided to close their indoor track and use it for their warehouse. So we kind of worked it out. We kind of moved our event, where it was able to be run there. And I think we've had, several of them so far.
Right.
What are your thoughts about, kind of adding that second race, and then, now we kind of have two type of events that we can go to?
Yeah, it worked out, well for us. Jason contacted me about hosting the summer race, and, I being brand new, of course, we're going to jump on board and try to host that race. So it was cool. Jason came to us and said, "Hey, let's do this." And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it. We did one, we can do another." But it's worked out. I don't think this is the fourth year that we're going to do it, if coming here up in July. But it works out well. So we have our Desert Classic in March, the J Concepts race in July. Last year we added the Kinwald Classic in October. So that works out well. I think 3 or 4 races a year where we have people from all over the nation coming into our facility works out great. Gives them, some time on the track, and gives us some time to host the fastest guys here in the nation.
And then let's talk a little bit about the Kinwald Classic. Obviously, that was one of the a race that you added. With obviously we losing Brian last year, and you guys were quick to jump on board, and it was definitely what's kind of interesting, backing up, is how each event has a little bit of a different feel or a little bit of a different buzz to it. And, the Desert Classic kind of has one, and then our event, and then the Kinwald. What was the mindset going in with the Kinwald event, and, and how that went the first time out?
Yeah, the Kinwald race, unfortunately, we lost Brian last year, and we were very happy and privileged to honor him with a RC car race. What else would you do for Brian? Is that get him frappuccinos and have RC car racing and bowling, and we did kind of all 3.
Yeah.
But the race was fun. We wanted to keep it pretty intimate and small, so we kept the count down, the entry count down. Kept it to a Saturday, Sunday race. Had a vintage class for him, and kind of all the classes that he ran when he was here. He ran modified buggy, modified short course, and he always had cool vintage stuff that, he hand built something, and he would bring it in and show me. He goes, "Hey, Ray, look at what I built." And of course, there'd be like 10,000 machining hours in the shot collars.
Right.
So it was cool to have, cool to honor him. I think it was a fun event. We had bowling, so we had open practice Friday that weekend. Shut practice down fairly early, and then we went to a bowling alley and kind of hung out and bowled for a few hours. It was a pretty good group of guys that came out and bowled. This year, I think we'll have a trophy for the high score for the bowler. We didn't do that last year. When we're bowling, it's like, man, we should have another trophy for whoever wins at bowling. But we'll probably do that. We did a concourse at that event. And then, the classes, the proper classes, we had two-wheel drive buggy, mod, and 13.5. I think we had a spec class, a vintage class, which was pretty good. I think we had 20 vintage cars in that class, and it was fun. We had a bunch of guys here that showed up with no car and ended up building a car. I think Greg built his car in the pits as the race was going on, and he got faster and faster as the weekend went. But it was cool. There's anywhere from RC10s to double X's. I think the double X won. I think Jerry had a double X and he won with that thing. I had a old RC10 that I found that was all dusty and dirty, and cleaned that thing up and ran that thing. Had a Clifflet peanut scheme body on that thing, and it was just cool to have that race and have all the vintage cars. So guys really dug it. I will say that I was probably the most vintage out of all of them in the A main, because I still ran a brushed motor and speed control, where all those other guys were running brushless stuff and LiPo batteries. So that's what I tell the guys when they want to run. I said, I had the most vintage car, even though I was last in A, I had the most vintage car out there.
Yeah. In terms of legality, you were the most legal.
Yeah. And this year, those guys are all excited already. The vintage market, I don't know if you've probably seen how crazy the vintage market is right now, trying to find parts. But those guys are scouring eBay, Craigslist, OfferUp, trying to find parts. And when they find stuff, they'll send me a message. Hey, look at what I found. I'll get 2:00 messages going, hey, I found B2 parts from, some small city somewhere in the Midwest. The parts will be here on Friday. So
and you're like,
they're all excited about doing it. So.
It is, it's hunting for that treasure, and then you get to build your car, and it's a whole nother side to this that is emerging.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have a B2 rolling chassis. Well, actually, it's not even a roll. I don't have wheels. But I have a B2 that someone gave me that's pretty clean. I'll probably run that if I can find spare parts. The problem now is finding spare parts.
So you're going to go with a B2?
It's here. So I have my choice between the RC10 I ran last year. I got to fix some things on it so my dog bones don't keep on popping out. And then I also have the B2, one of the non-team editions, because it has fiberglass shock tires and stuff like that. I can't get myself to spend like $40 on graphite shock tires.
Wow. I can't believe we were talking about this. The RC10 Classic that was just released recently. I saw on eBay a kit sealed. What was it? $500?
Oh, they're more than that.
They're more than that sealed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's
yep. The world's car is bringing about $600+, the re-release world's car, and then $900 to $1,000 for a classic.
Jeez.
Yeah, the cool thing last year at the Kinwald race is we kind of did a fundraiser. So we had a silent auction going. Associated was nice enough to send a re-release Worlds kit that we put up on auction, and I think that ended up going for like $600, $700, something like that. Some crazy amount.
I bid on it.
Yeah. So yeah, I bid on it too, and then got outbid real quick, and I'm like, I'm out on that one.
Yeah. What was the item that you won at the Kinwald race that you were bidding against Spencer?
We
board,
did a pit board. So we had all our participants sign the pit board. And Spencer wanted it. And I told Spencer, you're not taking this home. And he looks at me like, what do you mean I'm not taking this home? I said, you are not taking this home. So then, we ended up, bidding some crazy amount for that thing, but it was for a good cause. We raised quite a lot of money for the Crohn's Colitis Foundation of Arizona. So it was funny when we contacted them, the Arizona chapter, about Brian and having this event. They're like, okay, cool. We'll send someone down to represent on Sunday. And then when we presented them with the check, I think it was like, I think we had guaranteed them like $2,000. We took like $5 from every entry, and then we just rounded up. And I think we said we'd have $2,500. I think we ended up with like $7,000 or something like that. Wow. with the raffles and all the other stuff that we did. So it was pretty cool. They were very surprised and excited. And the chapter's president already sent me an email saying, "Hey, we can't wait for this year. We'll do more advertising with you guys for the event." So I thought that was pretty cool. And it was pretty cool for the Kinwald family to let us do this event and do that event and raise some money and have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, the $7,000, I mean, when you guys handed that to her, I mean, she was like blown away. I mean, she didn't believe at all that you guys were going to get to that kind of money.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because kind of like the last minute, like probably a month from the event, I'm like, hey, it'd be kind of cool to do a silent auction.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, I called Ryan up and said, hey, you have a body that you want to donate to the silent auction? You can sign it and do whatever. We're going to auction us off. He was like, sure. So we got Spencer to give one, Ryan gave one, Dakota sent a couple bodies. So we had some bodies from some of the pros that they sent to us, and it was pretty cool. We had a good diversity of stuff. We had one of our racers works for a pit stop or a truck stop company, and he donated a fuzzbuster. So we had like a fuzzbuster. So we kind of did a silent auction, and then we did a raffle. And like Zeke called up and said, "Hey, I'm not at the event, but I'm willing to buy a kit." And that's when the Kinwald, the TLR Kinwald kit, the Elite kit came out. And he's like, "You have one in the shop?" I said, "Yep." And he goes, "Okay, I'll PayPal you some money. I'll buy it and then do whatever you want. You can raffle it off, or you can silent auction it." So we had a pretty cool turnout from a bunch of guys that weren't even here that just called up and said, "Hey, I'd like to do something for Brian." So that was very cool of a lot of guys around the country that weren't here at the event that couldn't make it, that called up and donated items or donated money or did whatever. It was very cool. And, just kind of shows what Brian meant to our industry and the amount of people he influenced and touched, and, it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought that it went really well from that standpoint. A lot of Brian's friends came out, and I tried to talk to a little bit of everybody, and we did some video there too, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, and just talking to, we did this thing the other day on Instagram, Facebook, and then we made a video about it, was the RC mentors stuff and kind of what it means to be a mentor in RC, and obviously Brian scored really high, but I don't know if there has been a better one over the years than Brian as far as being a mentor, because I feel like he had this way of, if you were around him, especially in his heyday, he definitely made people faster by really setting the example of being at the track and the races, and people followed him and they got better. and that doesn't happen with everybody. There's some people that help, some people that don't. But people really, drivers really followed him and they got better.
Yeah. Even at our track, when he moved down here from Tucson, he started racing here, and it was pretty easy for him to take people under his wing. It didn't matter what you drove or who you were, or he just kind of helped people. it was cool to see. It was cool to see that his influence and his innovation was just incredible. He'd come in, and I'd look at his car, and I think I told him a couple times, just don't start a fire.
Yeah.
So, I'd look at his car, and everything's hardwired in, like his LiPo battery, solid copper wire from his battery to his ESC, and I'm like, that's cool. Don't start a fire.
Yeah.
But
don't.
things he did.
So as far as, one of the events that we got under in the books this year was, and it might have even, it's the last race we ran, was the Desert Classic, I believe, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I think, what was that? That was March. Let me look at the calendar here. The Desert Classic was the 12th through the 15th. And that was essentially our second to the last race that we had here before we stopped racing. But I think that was the last big race that the traveling crew went to, which is kind of crazy. I don't think he has probably been off for this long ever.
It's kind of interesting. Did you? Was there any kind of? I can't even remember. There was some talk about this kind of starting to go on with the virus thing, but it wasn't. It hadn't escalated quite to the point where we got about a month later. But was there any concern at the time, or I can't even remember where we were at in the whole thing?
Yeah. I just remember that, kind of preparing for the event, getting everything ready, getting the track ready. Once I was comfortable with where the track was at and stuff like that, which is usually about a week before, I started looking, just watching the news and seeing what was happening in the world. I started looking for hand sanitizer and stuff like that to have at the track. And I have a couple, people don't know, I used to work in government here in the state. And, people were telling me, oh yeah, we're trying to procure all the stuff because we potentially have this stuff coming down the pipeline. So I started looking for it just to have here at the track. We ended up having like wipes and stuff like that, but it was super hard to find hand sanitizer already, that was at the second week of March, in bulk, essentially, enough to supply for 300 hands. But it was interesting. It was, in my mind, something that we worried about, because, that's what I guess a track promoter or race promoter does, is they worry about all the potential things that might happen, but might never happen. And I remember when Dustin came in, he gave me the new high five, which was the elbow high five. And I said, all right, that's cool. But yeah, so it was, I think some guys kind of were aware of what was happening around in the world. Some guys were like, okay, we're still here. We'll still race. The event went off pretty well, and I was in Vegas the following week trying to watch some college basketball, and we got one day in and came home because everything got canceled. And then that Saturday we tried the race. Well, we raced that Saturday, and after that Saturday we stopped racing until next month. So we're going to start racing, doing our club racing in a limited amount on the 3rd, which is that Wednesday. So with kind of the social distancing and the CDC guidelines that we're following here in Arizona, we have about 42 spaces that we can use and still have social distancing, and for everyone to feel safe and for me to feel comfortable letting people in. So we'll do that first club race next Wednesday and see how it goes from there. Be interesting because, we usually have, on a Wednesday night, we'll usually have from 40 to 50 entries. And then on Saturdays, before COVID happened, we were, probably about 90 entries or so. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and how willing people are going to be, or how comfortable they are going to be coming back out and essentially gathering, in our building. We're taking some precautions where we disinfect the facility every night, So the bathrooms get disinfected, all the pit area gets disinfected, driver stand, all that stuff gets disinfected. We have masks if people want masks. We have hand sanitizer, cleaning supplies galore. Yeah, we spend a lot of money on cleaning supplies and disinfectant and application products within the last month.
And then, so we got through that event, and so I guess the question is we'll kind of get into the summer indoor nationals a little bit. Me and you had talked about some things, and what are you seeing as kind of coming forward with that type of event and the way it's going to be run?
Yeah, I think, we can still race and still be safe. Our facility's fairly large, so, as long as we social distance in the pit area and kind of our drivers and participants kind of, abide by the social distancing measures that the CDC wants to follow, I think we could have a safe, comfortable race. Like what I said with us, social distancing in the pit area, that gives us like 42 spots where everyone's 6 foot apart, and you still have your pit area and you can still be comfortable. So I kind of threw the idea out to Jason probably 2 weeks ago on what do you think of having the J Concepts race just in a reduced fashion, and still be comfortable with the event going on. And I think we have a pretty good solution where people could be safe and comfortable in our facility, and we can still all social distance. With our driver stand being the size it is, we have 7 spots up there, 6 foot apart, a true 6 foot apart. So we have these stickers made. If you've been to our facility, we have this angry panda all over the place. So we made some stickers, and it says "Standa on the Panda." 6 foot apart. There's spots up on the driver's stand, 7 of them. You stand on him, and you'll be able to social distance. You may not get the spot you want or are comfortable with, but I think that's will make these guys a little bit better driver and kind of have to overcome some adversity driving from a spot they're not comfortable in. Oh. But I think with the J Concepts race, kind of a solution that we potentially have is doing 2 sessions of a group of 42. Essentially, we have 42 drivers in the morning, 42 drivers in the afternoon, with a kind of a reduced event. So limiting the car types. So buggy being the most popular class for us was kind of a no-brainer to say, okay, let's do the buggy classes, 2-wheel drive, 17.5 and 13.5 4-wheel drive, and then the 2 modified classes, 2-wheel and 4-wheel. Kind of a popular class that we've been running since the J Concepts Indoor Summer Nationals kind of introduces a 21.5 spec class. That class for us has been pretty popular. So we threw that class in too. So I think the schedule right now on how we can get it done is that morning session would have 42 drivers. You would have 17.5 and 13.5 run together. So 42 spots. And you'd have to, if you're going to run one class, you have to run both. So when you're signing up for a 13.5 4-wheel and 17.5 2-wheel, and you're running the morning session. And then the evening session, we'll have 21 spots for modified. You run 2-wheel and 4-wheel. And then the 21.5 independent class will have 21 spots for those guys. So
wow,
a little bit different. We'll have heats of 7. I think no bumps. 7 in the mains, and then triple A's for all the classes. And we can get in and out of here, in a certain time. But the thing with running 2 sessions is how do we get a certain timeline for that second session, to show up. So if it's at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or whatever. So we kind of ran some scenarios of how long we run the heats. Our race director, Richard Lake, who does all our big events, and all our weekend events, does a very good job of keeping kind of a timeline and keeping a pretty tight ship of keeping to, a certain time. So, with that event, I think we're going to probably have the flyer out hopefully later, either this week or tomorrow or early next week, kind of telling people what to do and what to expect. But we'll go about it with that. And, we're like everyone else, we're just kind of rolling with the punches here. And I think it'll work out, and we'll have the ability to get these guys in and out of here in a time that is, somewhat certain, and have that second group come in. So we don't have guys on top of each other like we would normally have at one of our big events.
I think it's going to be kind of neat, and it's going to be kind of interesting to do it this way and kind of see what happens and how things kind of unfold. I mean, I don't anticipate us doing this type of thing forever, but it's definitely a little bit of it is some time to learn and experiment a little bit.
Yeah, I think it gives us opportunity to do that. The one of the things when I was throwing this idea out, I talked to Jason, obviously, and I talked to BT over at Associated. I talked to Ryan here, and Ryan was all on board. He's like, sure, I don't have to show up till like 2:00 and I'm going to be here till 7. That's perfect. I don't have to be at the track all day.
Yeah.
He's like, that's perfect. We should do this for all your events. So, it might be something that might sort of stick. I don't know. When I would go to big events, I'd hate being at the track from, 6 a.m. to 9:00 at night or 8:00 at night.
Yeah.
If we could break this up, I guess P&B does it, does something kind of similar where they break it up where the pro guys run at a certain time and the open guys run at a certain time. So the guys aren't there all day, which I don't know, might work out. We'll see how it goes.
I kind of like it. Yeah.
Unfortunately I have to be at the track all day. So
yeah.
You're like, it doesn't change for me.
So how many people are you allowed? How many are you allowed in the building at one time then?
So the crazy thing with the state of Arizona here, I don't want to actually say that too loud, but the thing with Arizona is they removed the number criteria, and they just said to follow CDC guidelines. Okay. CDC guidelines really doesn't give you a number per square footage. They just said, keep your 6-foot separations. So for us, our where you're going to congregate the most is in the pits, right? Yeah. So everyone just kind of hangs out in the pits. So to me, the smartest and prudent idea there was, okay, let's lay out our pits so everyone's 6 foot apart. And how many spots do we have? With the way we laid it out, we have 42 spots. So that was my magic number. That's how I came up with that number. It works out because we have 7 spots up in the driver's stand. One of those crazy number things that happen. We have 7 spots in the driver's stand. You have 42 drivers. It becomes a variable of 6. So you have 6 heats. Boom, you're done.
Wow.
It made it easy.
Yeah.
So it just kind of worked out. When I was doing the spreadsheet time wise, I'm like, oh, how many heats will we have? 6. Oh, perfect number. So it just worked out that what we have on our driver's stand and how many pit spots we have just worked out right. So maybe it was meant to be.
Sounds it. Yeah.
It sounds good at least.
It does. Math all works.
So yeah, and hopefully it works out. I'm sure that guys are chomping at the bit to come race again, and our traveling guys are ready to race again. I've had a few text messages from a few guys that said, "Hey, are we doing the J Concepts race?" And I'm like, "Yep, hold your horses. Be ready to be on your keyboard at a certain date. So register, and we'll do something." So I think with what we have planned and our pit layout and our cleaning schedule, I feel fairly safe to have. I shouldn't say fairly safe. I feel safe that we'll have a good environment that's where everyone can socially distance and still be safe from this craziness that the world's going through right now.
One of the things I was going to ask about is how you've been handling the business in the hobby store since, with everything happening at the moment. And I know there's been curbside sales and just about anything you can think of to service the customers. And how have you been handling that side of things up in, obviously you're probably letting people come in and into the stores now, but how was it going about a month ago, I guess?
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy starting off. So the state of Arizona closed, had our shelter in place, stay at home, stay safe, and stay home, starting April 1st. So we shut both stores down for that. We still had our eBay store and our web store open, so we would come in and still do our online ordering, and that's been really good for us. Not, it's, I would say, really good compared to our normal online sales. Compared to, kind of the numbers that we would normally run with the stores being open. It wasn't close, but it's better than nothing. That's what I told Nick. I go, it's better than nothing. So, we kind of did that, and, while we're sitting around for that first week, and I ran out of things to watch on Netflix, as Nick and I kind of got together and said, hey, let's do the story model while we have this downtime. So we did that. Mm-hmm. We still did our online sales, sold a lot of trucks to everyone, whoever they were, all the way on the East Coast to here in Arizona. People were buying stuff, and the entry level market, or what we call bachelor market. I call entry level just to be nicer.
It's supposed to be entry level.
Yeah, we sold a lot of cars, a lot of ready to run cars. A lot of models, paints. People are still chomping to have fun and at home while they're locked up with their kids. So it was crazy. Like the month of April, or sorry, the month of March, that last 3 weeks before we were asked to shelter in place, the numbers were kind of crazy. People kind of knew they were going to be stuck at home for a little bit, so they were coming in and buying cars and batteries and fixing old cars that they had broken in the garage. But being closed for essentially, we haven't raced in almost 2 months, I think it was. And the store being closed both stores being closed for essentially a month. Financially, those were a little bit tough. But we were able to kind of weather through that. We have had a little bit of rainy day funds, and unfortunately, we kind of burned through the rainy day funds, which you don't want to do, but that's what they're there for. And we're able to kind of slowly open. The state of Arizona let us slowly open with curbside at the beginning of May. So that lasted about a week. So we set up where you could walk up and tell us what parts you needed, or you'd send us an email. These are the parts I want. We'd have them ready. Walk in, do as a touchless transaction as we could, and sent them on their way. So that kind of went for a little bit. And then last 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks ago, I think it was the 11th, they allowed us to open our doors as long as we had safety protocols. So we have to disinfect and disinfect high touch areas and make sure that we clean and stuff like that. And we've been doing that. So we've been open for the past couple of weeks, and it's been pretty good. People are ready to go. People are chomping at the bit to go. And our racers were at backyard tracks. We had a couple of guys build tracks in their backyard, and they're asking for double Ds and red tires, and I'm like, yeah. And so is everyone else.
Yeah.
Good luck finding those. But yeah, it was funny. You're like, oh yeah, I need outdoor tires, and I start laughing. I'm like, yeah, where are you going to find outdoor tires now? But it was good. The guys kind of scratched their itch with their backyard tracks and their home tracks. We had some guys buy, Traxxas Maxes and basher cars that can go fast and do crazy things. So, I think we're okay and recovering and back open to the public. So it's going. We've started practice again. So, practice this month we started practice on the 18th. So we're doing practice for 2 weeks before we open the track back up to get the track kind of back into somewhat of racing shape, since it just, essentially got water for 2 months and no cars on it. While we're in here doing some construction, we broke out the rental slashes and tried to drive on it. And if you've ever been on ice skates and don't know how to ice skate, that's what it was like. But, we've had 2 weeks on the track. The track's getting better. Guys are running. We have a bunch of new guys. It was interesting. We had probably about 3 new guys buy cars in full setups, like the week before we closed. And like that Friday we're closing, like, we're coming to practice. I'm like, we're closed. We have to close for this COVID thing. And they're like, what? I just spent all this money. I'm like, yeah, be patient. We'll be back.
Bummer.
But yeah, it was funny. These guys spent $1,300 on a new setup and built it. Took them 2 months to build. So, and some of those guys are actually practicing right now. So they've been here pretty much every day since we've opened, running cars.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So, yeah, and we sold a lot of cars. Like the crazy thing is we kind of didn't follow the rules totally, because the 22 X4 came out the week that we were closed. Like, I think we closed on Monday and the car came Wednesday. So everyone was sending me a message, hey, can I get my car? So we sort of had fake drive up on that Wednesday, and people picked up their cars so they could build.
Okay.
While they were locked up at home. So that was, that's, I don't know, people, it's just a hobby, and people like building cars and doing that stuff. So, we had to kind of let them scratch their itch there.
So when, so you said you do some online sales. Is it mostly all like eBay, or do you do it some other way as well?
Yeah. So we have our online store at hobbyaction.net, and then we also have an eBay store. So they both show live inventory, as long as our inventory is right. Sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it is what it is when you have 2 stores and I don't know, like 10,000 line items or whatever we have in the store. The inventory is not always right, but yeah, my problems. You get it.
Yeah.
But you can buy, like, one of the tricks, if you go to our web store. Sometimes you don't have to pay shipping depending on how much you do it. But if you go to eBay, you have to pay shipping. So that's kind of a insight there. Go to our web store rather than buying it on eBay. Because sometimes you don't have to pay shipping, which, when you're sending X-Max or like 4 slashes somewhere, it, becomes a pretty good deal.
Yeah. I'm on your website right now. Really nice. Free shipping for U.S. orders over $50.
Yeah, we can look at the Gundam models right now and see all those. We just got a stock of I can't say how many pounds it was, because we actually have a contest where if you name how many models were in all the boxes and the weight, I think we're giving them a $20 gift certificate or something like that. But it was a lot of models. It was a lot of money. Now,
I know those Gundam models, they have a cult following, but what is making them really fly off the shelves now? Is it something going on or what?
I don't know. It's just these guys, we have a good core group of guys that just come in and buy, and it doesn't really matter.
Well, I've heard about this elsewhere too. Like, that's why when you mentioned it, I was like, oh man, I've heard about this. And
when I built models back when I was young, you had to paint them. They came white or whatever color Lavelle made them. And you had to spend like 3 months painting the stupid thing. Well, these things come the plastic comes colored already. So if it's it's supposed to be blue, it comes blue. If it's supposed to be red, it comes red. All in the same model. and they're all snapped together, and they articulate in some fashion. So you can pose them and do whatever. And there's different grades and different details.
Yeah,
like some of the models are $20. Some of the models, the nicer models, which they call perfect grade models, are like $300. So, and those guys love it. They will paint them and do all kinds of stuff with them. We have build nights at our Tempe store, so we'll throw out some tables, and the guys will just kind of come in and build models for a couple hours. We'll hold some new stuff back for them, so they're the first to see it or have the first opportunity to buy it. So, some of the cool stuff like that. I don't know what we're going to do now with COVID, but we'll figure it out.
And for listeners that don't know, they look like Transformers.
They do.
Yeah, I'm looking at one right now. $280. So anywhere from basically $6 or $7 all the way to $280.
Yeah, there's some that are even more expensive than that, but yeah,
it is cool. Awesome. I mean, to me, like, I like all this kind of stuff. I mean, I could get into it.
Yeah, I grew up as a hobbyist, so when I was a kid, anything that I got to put together was a bonus. Like if I could put a airplane model together or a car model together, I tried.
Mm-hmm.
And the glue back then was way better.
Yeah.
Before they stopped all the bad stuff in the glue.
Oh yeah. 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 The people were sniffing them. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Testers had like two. They had the unscented glue that didn't hold anything together, and then they had the full use orange label glue that would melt stuff.
Yeah,
that was the good stuff.
Yeah, my uncle had a hardware store, but he had like a section with models and stuff that you can purchase and build. And there was we had the Testers modeling glue. But we had this one guy that would come in. And he's like, I need like 10 of those. And we knew exactly. He's the town druggie, so we knew what he was doing. But
he was building a lot of models.
Yeah, he's like, I need 10 of those and a paper bag, and he would just squeeze them in a paper bag and go from there. Anyway, there's my story.
And don't try any of this at home.
Yeah, don't try it at home, folks.
Yeah, don't try that. Yeah. That's why the glue doesn't work now.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Right.
Hard to put together.
Thanks a lot, guy. That's why the glue doesn't work.
Oh man.
So I remember many years ago, Mayfield was telling me that when he would go into your, the other store, this is probably before you had the track, was how huge all the drone stuff was. And like it went through like a big climb and just people going nuts in that. Like what's going on with that side of things, and what was the path kind of going in and out of that whole genre, I guess?
Yeah, it 4 years ago, before we opened the store, multi-rotor stuff or drone stuff was crazy. It's like, we were probably one of the only stores in the Valley that carried any of the nice stuff, where you could do video and carry, big full-size cameras. And it was good for us. We sold a lot of stuff. When we decided to do it, kind of the biggest manufacturer in the video stuff is DJI. And when we decided to carry them, one of the options that we talked about, as a business person, you always talk about margins. The margins on that stuff were terrible, and they're still terrible. But we decided, okay, we could not do it, or just try to do a boatload of it. So we started and we did a boatload of it, and it was crazy. Back then, they only sold to hobby shops. So you couldn't go to Costco or Sam's Club and buy one, or Best Buy to buy one. So if you wanted something like that, you had to go to a hobby shop to purchase it. And it was great. We sold a lot. I flew them. I had a couple, and we were doing stuff for some of the filmmaking companies here in Arizona that were doing some stuff. And it was a lot of fun. We were building, huge multi-rotor helicopters that were able to carry, 26 pounds of camera equipment, which was pretty cool. And, watching some of the stuff, like when they're telling us what they're doing, and then you'd see it, either in a movie or on a commercial of what happened. It was kind of cool to see. So it's kind of started off with the video stuff and the DJI stuff. Then it kind of morphed into the racing 3D kind of drones, kind of what they showed on ESPN for a little bit there. And, and then it kind of, everyone's had it. You could go online and buy, a motor for $7 where, people were like, I can go online and buy this for $7, where we had, a nicer quality motor that was $30, but, they would say, I can buy 4 of these to your one. So, it's kind of more, it was a really high. And for us right now, it's kind of a really low. We have very little stuff. We have some flight controllers in the store now. But not anywhere to where we were at, say 4 years ago. But, it was a good ride. You try to ride those waves, kind of like fidget spinners. You ride that wave until it's not there anymore, and then you move on to the next thing. Not to say that multi-rotors and people flying drones now aren't out there. It's just for us, we've kind of decided to move on from that market and do something else. But I still have one at the house.
Yeah, I was interested in that. So let's talk about the fidget spinners. Well, what was the up and down on those things? I mean, that was a huge deal, right?
That was like, who was it? I guess it would be like Milli Vanilli. It would be very fast and in and out, and you're done. They're like famous for like a month, and then you're done. So, but yeah, we kind of rode that wave for a little bit, and it went away.
Spinners.
Spun this little thing on ball bearings.
How long did that last exactly? Yeah, or how long did it last?
For us, it probably lasted maybe, I don't know, a couple months.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got a couple months out.
I don't know. A couple months are good when you're selling, like $3 fidget spinners for $10 or whatever it was. So it was good.
Yeah.
Or even less than that. But yeah, it's just like anything in retail, you kind of look for what's hot and go from there. And you always have your staples. Like for us, our staples are RC cars.
Yeah.
We keep those always in stock, and RC airplanes, and we try to find out what's cool and what's next, just like yo-yos and pogs and all that stuff that as a kid we did. Did you guys do pogs when you guys were young?
I didn't do yo-yos or pods. I remember when the Team Losi yo-yos came out.
I wasn't into yo-yos, but I remember Team Losi having yo-yos.
Yeah, I remember when it came out. I had to sell those things at Trinity.
You did?
Yeah, Ernie got a whole bunch of them in, and we had to try and push them, and man, that was like impossible.
You just hope you're on the front end of that wave instead of the back end of the wave.
Yeah. You got to be on the front side. Yeah.
When that's on the front side, it's like, man, these things are easy to sell. Let's get 10,000 more.
Well, we got them in right away.
And then when you're on the back side, you're like, we got 10,000 to just sell. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I had to call a hobby shop up and say, hey, we got these yo-yos in from Losi, double ball bearings, and how many you want? And they were just like, I'll pass, thank you.
You're just like, but they're hot.
Yeah, Pogs. Pogs are the same way. I think I was in, like, when Pogs hit, I was still in, like, school, like elementary school or junior high or something like that, and I had, like, a black market Pog thing in my locker where, you had the metal ones, because someone would drive me up here to Phoenix, and I would go to a distributor, I'd go to the shop and just like buy all their cool stuff and then take it home because I grew up in a small town. No one ever left. Opened up my locker and I'd have pogs to sell. So
You're a pog dealer.
I could support. Yes, I could support my RC car habit.
That's funny.
I'm looking at them online right now.
They still pop up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had to type in toy, though.
Yeah, well, you got to, yeah. I was going to say, you got to be careful how you spell that.
Yeah.
That lasted for a while. That was more than a couple months, though.
Maybe those things are going to come back.
Maybe. They were pretty easy. They were pretty simple. It's a cardboard disc. I don't even know what the game
cardboard
was.
Disc. You're like, I can make them myself now.
Yeah, I was like, what is this game? And sure, you guys want to buy some? Sure, I'll try to find something.
I'll trade you some Gundams for your Pogs. Hey, you know what? But that is that business. People think if they're in a hobby shop or whatever, that they get into it because they like racing or they like, and I always say that, like, you know, if you are in this and you're only doing it to basically serve your own needs, then you're already getting in behind the 8 ball. And this is the kind of stuff that you have to be active in. Is, you know, like you said, your constant is these things that have been around a while, and you know the RC cars, you know this and that, but then, like you said, you got to get into these other things that you can turn some numbers with.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of full circle because, you know, essentially the hobby shop now supports my RC car habit.
Right. It's like.
It's bad. It's bad owning a hobby shop now because it's like, oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Sure, I need a tank. I need a Tamiya tank with every option, or
and a semi.
Yes. You know, sure. Stick it one. Can you make me a wrap for the semi case to make it look like a hobby action delivery truck?
They're like, no problem.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just kind of full circle. Back in the day, I was selling Pogs to support my RC car habit. Now I sell RC cars to support my RC car habit.
Now you sell fidget spinners to support the RC car habit.
Yeah,
oh man.
So we do have some questions here for you, but let's see. Before that, what I was going to do is ask you a little bit about, you know, kind of moving forward in the hobby business here. Is there anything you're seeing? I guess, first of all, what's the hot thing going on the car side right now of, you know, in the business, in the industry? You see any constants? What's hot?
Yeah, you know, I think on the off-road racing side, you know, anytime a new car comes out, it's always the best new slice of bread. So,
yeah.
You know, the TLR 22X4 has been pretty good seller for us, and you know, all those parts have been pretty good sellers. But you know, that's kind of the same with any new car. So, you know, Associated came out with a new car. Obviously, you know, they're going to buy that new car.
Yeah,
I think kind of a huge thing happening right now that's kind of, I don't know, I think you guys talked about it in one of your podcasts, is kind of like what Traxxas did with the Slash is kind of this drag racing thing. You know,
yeah.
You have this no prep drag racing thing that's happening, that guys are just building cars and having fun and just going out to some street in an industrial park. You know, they have 10 or 20 guys show up, and pretty easy to run. They measure out, you know, a straight line distance, and they race each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's been pretty big for us. James, my manager here at the Chandler store, has kind of built a car and has been pretty fast with it. You know, we call Street Outlaw or Street Eliminator, which is a short course based truck with essentially a drag race type body on it. And I think, a lot of the guys like it because it looks like a car that they might have or might have wanted, or, either race. We have a lot of guys that actually drag race that are doing this, and they built cars that look just like their real car. So I think that's kind of something that's cool and hot that people are into, because they can make their RC car look like their real car, and they can associate it with something. Someone new to the hobby, when they look at a buggy or look at a stadium truck, they look at it and they go, this doesn't even look like anything real. And when, I related back to Traxxas days when Traxxas came out with the Slash, they made it look like a trophy truck. So if you watched racing on TV, you saw a trophy truck and this looked like, the closest thing possible to it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of happening now with that drag racing, with Associated coming out with the DR10, kind of a drag race car, out of the box where, it's ready to run and ready to go. Not the fastest thing in the world, but, it's there and you don't have to build something. Like now, when we started this probably about a year ago, we built Slash trucks with banded arms to make them narrow. And, Jason had a couple bodies and Proline has a couple bodies out that just worked and they looked like real cars. We built them, put them on the shelf. People walked in and was like, what is that? That looks really cool. It's something they can relate to. They can go, oh yeah, that's a Nova, or, that's a Fox body Mustang. It's something that they can relate to in the real world. And they go fast and straight. And what do people want to do that don't actually race off-road or on-road? They want to go fast and straight. So, it's kind of giving them an option where they can race each other. You don't need anything fancy. Like the group of guys that race here by the shop, they essentially built this little light out of PVC pipe, a battery, and a switch. So they set that up. They measure 23 feet or 125, whatever, 125 feet, and they go from there. They have one guy controlling the light, one guy standing at the end of the track, and they set up a bracket and race each other. And it's been pretty popular. We're selling a lot of cars, selling a lot of bodies, selling a lot of tires. And then, you have some of these specialized companies that are building full-on race chassis that, if you wanted to go about it that way, you can. I think our thing right now is we're building, James runs a SC6 with B6 arms on it and uses Jason's rear shock car. And that car is crazy fast. And he's running, stuff off the shelf. He's running a 510 and a 4.0 Sonic motor. And that thing is ridiculous. Like, remember back in the day, running brushed touring car modified, how those things used to scream down the back stretch? That's what that thing sounds like at the end of the strip. It's just crazy fast. And, people are always like, it's funny, like, when we're building it with the racers, like, oh, you just go in a straight line. How hard can it be? Then we let them drive our car and they're like, oh, it's not that easy. Yeah, you're putting a lot of power, trying to put a lot of power down, and go in a straight line.
Yeah,
it's not always easy.
No, it isn't.
It's not always predictable.
No, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So let me
it's been fun. I laugh every time I drive mine because, it could go one pass, it could go straight as an arrow and fast as can be, do absolutely nothing to the car, and you come back and say, all right, I got this, and then you spin out and flip over and you go back to the drawing board.
So we got kind of getting into our question area here from some other guys. Chris Trudeau is always asking some good questions, and he's asking, what makes a model ideal track racer? He's got other parts here, but you can ask that one first.
My ideal track racer is some guy or girl that is willing to help out other people. You know, we hear it a lot. Like, our facilities is pretty intimidating. You walk in and you see, you know, this huge shop. You walk through the doors to get to the track, and you know, you see guys with their OGO bags and all this cool stuff. And as a beginner, you walk in and look at that, and you're like, "Holy crap! What are these guys doing?" You know, I think the model racer is a guy that's willing to help those kids out, or, you know, even the adults that are starting, just helping them out and kind of walking them through, you know, what this hobby is all about. You know, when we have our more seasoned guys say, you know, tell me, "Oh yeah, you need to stack races because these guys aren't as fast." And I always tell them, at one point you were there. So, you know, help those guys get faster, show them the ropes, show them how to marshal, you know, show them what you need to do, show them to be respectful, you know, just all those things that you would want to happen. You know, like, for me, like, you know, be respectful on the driver's stand, you know, like things that I try to do. Don't yell on the driver's stand. There's no need to yell. You know, I understand big race once in a while, that will happen. You know, but you know, club race, you're racing for fun. You're racing against your friends. You know, come out and have fun. You know, this is supposed to be a release from your everyday stresses of your job or whatever it is, and come out and have fun, help people out, make friends. You know, I have a ton of friends from RC that we hang out, you know, go over to dinner after a race and laugh a bunch and just, you know, just chill. And that would be my ideal racer. Some guy that is willing to help someone out, you know, and be the model RC car racer, which is not yelling, not blaming someone else for crashing, doing a great job marshaling.
Yeah, I think, you know, you might have hinted at some of these. He was just asking if you have any pet peeves about being I'm sure you have quite a few.
The opposite of what I just said. So yeah, I guess the biggest pet peeve, you know, is our track, our dirt is a little bit unique. And you know, it takes some time to get fast. And, you know, at our big events, the track is usually pretty high grip, pretty fast. You know, where the fast guys are pretty much driving on the edge for the entire time they're on the track. And trying to replicate that during, you know, replicate that traction level at a club race level is never going to happen. We don't have enough guys. We're running thousands of laps on a race weekend where, you know, on a club race weekend, we're running hundreds of laps. So that's probably my biggest pet peeve of when guys are telling me, "Hey, how come the traction level is not up?" Or, "What you guys do watering?" You know, we're not here to take traction away. We're not trying to make the track slower. It's just the nature of the beast. When you have dirt inside a building that requires water, that is hot, cold, you know, that's in the environment, it's not controlled, or not as controlled as it can be, I guess.
And then he's also asking, do you have any kind of specific marketing you do to try to draw any new racers? Yeah,
we do a lot with our community where we do a lot of advertisement with our local Little League. We do some stuff with our schools. We have a couple of schools in the area that do their STEM programs, and we essentially, you know, sell them the stuff at cost. So if it's radios, controllers, motors, or whatever, you know, all the rockets, anything like that, you know, we're selling that to the schools at cost, and hoping, you know, they have a good time with it. You know, race program wise, you know, before the COVID stuff happened, you know, we would have a full heat of novice guys. So we'd have 10 novice guys running or more, which is cool. And it's just, you know, facilitating those guys into the next level of, you know, jumping out of novice, either going to our 21.5 spec class or a short course class or truck classes. And, it's not just the guys in the hobby shop, but it's the guys out on the track, making those guys feel welcome. And nurturing them along. It's kind of like, when we have rules, it's, self-policing is what I use all the time. You guys kind of have to self-police each other and promote the hobby. And, it's not just someone coming here and running the car. It's promoting the hobby, and promoting the products that we have. It's everyone's in on it. So, if we didn't have a cool place to race or, product to buy or whatever, what would you be doing? It's making friends and coming out here and having fun. Kind of got off track there.
No, I think that's good. I'm going to kind of trim up this question a little bit, but basically what the guy is asking is, and this could be a whole show to itself, but he just wants to know what you think about sponsored drivers. And obviously, like I said, it could be a whole show to itself. He's in, kind of referencing the amount of sponsored drivers, and then, kind of everything in between. But I think you could probably hit on it. I'm sure you got a good standpoint.
Yeah, I think, there's a need for sponsored drivers. I don't know if there is a need for the amount of sponsored drivers that we have out there, but, you always need guys that are going to be fast and promote the hobby and promote the product that they're paid to promote, and that's, I don't have a problem with sponsored drivers as long as they're promoting the hobby and promoting the product that they're running. That's being a good ambassador to everything, being a good ambassador to the product, to to themselves, to, representing the companies, their families, themselves. It's one of those things that, I think it's necessary. The amount of, back when I raced a lot, we had a handful of sponsored guys, and those were usually the best drivers at the track. The good drivers at the track, or the great drivers at the track, weren't sponsored. They were great drivers, but they didn't have what, we have now. Only the cream of the crop actually had a sponsorship. I think that cream of the crop is still necessary. The factory guys and the guys that are getting paid to travel, those guys are necessary. But that's my own opinion. The companies that are sponsoring people, that's their business model, and I'm okay with it. We do fine with what we have and the guys that spend money with us, and we have sponsored guys that's still spending money with us. So it's good. The one thing that I would like to see from some of these manufacturers, and some of them do contact us about sponsoring, who they sponsor at their local track. It'd be nice to have a call or a discussion. Hey, I'm looking to sponsor X guy. What do you think? Because they looking at a resume, these guys, people submitted resumes to whatever, and you probably see it, Jason. You probably get every Joe Schmo I won, my backyard race or whatever. You don't know who that guy is unless they're traveling or whatever. But you want kind of representation throughout the nation. It would be nice if some of these companies called and said, hey, this guy says he races at your track. Is he a good ambassador to RC? You could be a fast guy, but you might not be a good ambassador to RC. So I guess that's my take on it. And we kind of help a couple guys out with their race programs, and it's all right. everyone was a beginner at one point, and everyone wants to be sponsored at some point, or sponsored by something, or have that feather in the hat. It's cool. I don't know. You have to have something to strive for, right? Like when I raced a lot as a young kid, I always wanted to be sponsored. I was never good enough to be sponsored, but I always wanted to be sponsored.
It was hard back then to get sponsored.
Yeah.
Today, not so much.
Now I'm sponsored by myself, so I can drive whatever I want. If I wanted to drive a Losi today, I could. If I wanted to drive the Associated, I could.
And you have, right?
I have. I actually even have a tractor strip that I probably won't be able to race. Kind of sad. A little bit of a tear in my eye. I was ready for that class.
Oh, yeah. I know.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. That's a tough, the sponsorship thing's a tough one.
It is.
The manufacturers are going to do what they're going to do in the hobby shops, sometimes unfortunately are kind of in a pickle because, they may be usually the fast guy was spending money at their local hobby shop. But now that they're sponsored, they're going to be, buying or getting their product direct or getting it for free or, at a discount or whatever. So I don't know. It's one of those double-edged swords, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's a good solution. I don't think going back to the days when we raced where, you had a handful of guys being sponsored and everyone else was a privateer. I don't think that genie goes back in that bottle.
Yeah. And what I've talked about with Gotti here several times is, in the 90s and in that kind of day, there also wasn't as many manufacturers.
Right.
So it wasn't the part of the thing now is there's many more companies in the mix. So it definitely adds up. And it's a thing that obviously, like I said, we could do a whole show on this and it still wouldn't be done and still wouldn't have it figured out. But yeah, that's the basis of where his question was kind of going. So in a sense, and I guess while I'm looking here, do you have any ideas or looking into that crystal ball of, what you would think could be the next biggest thing, the next hottest thing? I mean, we haven't really had that in RC racing, since the short course. Do you see anything or have any predictions of what it could be?
Whew, I don't know. The drag race thing is kind of going already. Associated came out with their car. I don't know if Losi has anything kind of in the pipeline, but I think there could be some cool stuff with some of these manufacturers where they have the parts. You just repackage the parts and make it a kit version, a factory team kit version.
Yeah.
I don't want to single a company out, but I will, because that's what we're doing here. We kind of, we can get a RC, a B6.1 or point whatever number it is now, 0.2, and a short course chassis. Those are all production made parts. You don't have to. The only thing you're making is a wheelie bar. Everything else is off the shelf.
Yeah.
So it's just packaging product that they have already. Losi could probably do the same thing with their cars. Is you just repackage some of the stuff. With Associated, how the front ends and the rear ends work, where the parts are pretty interchangeable. You're just changing the length of the arm. It could be pretty easy and kind of pretty trick. I don't know. We bought a bunch of parts. We bought the buggy kit and some parts to do a conversion that will probably market here in the shop, where, hey, you could buy, this kit with these extra parts and have a pretty cool and competitive drag car, you know, and you don't have to go out and piece a bunch of parts and make homemade parts or 3D print parts. It's all off the wall parts, you know, and, you know, like you made the shock tower. That's easy. Okay, here's the shock tower that you put in. You run, you know, buggy shocks all the way around, and, you know, there's just a repackaging of things. You know, if you look at the industry kind of tracks this, they use the same parts for a majority of their cars, like the transmission. The transmission case is the same transmission case for all their two-wheel line.
Yeah.
Right? So how much does it cost to make that mold? When you're making, you know, selling 20,000 of each kit, that mold isn't that expensive anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about their product line is, you know, just the consistency of it for everybody.
Right. Other than that, man, RC, I don't know. I love racing short course. I want short course to come back. That's why we always have it. That's why we always push it. We always have something in the class.
We had a great run with that. I mean, we had an amazing run with it. And I mean, obviously it's still going. It's still a great entry level piece. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
We still have guys running here. I think we're like kind of looking at numbers across the nation. We still have a pretty good class of short course trucks and drivers, which is kind of cool. You know, and we have our 21.5 lock timing class. That's been pretty cool. You know, it's pretty intimidating for a guy to come in here and, you know, watching Ezra run, which is our local fast guy in 17.5. He's pretty fast, and you throw your 17.5 car out there as a newbie, and, you know, you feel like you're in the way. So, you know, having a couple of steps in racing, I think are good, where we don't discourage some of the guys that are, you know, starting off, you know, because you go from novice, which could be a ready to run truck or car, and then you build yourself a race car, run 17.5, and you could be 4 laps off the pace from the fast guys, you know, kind of discouraging sometimes. So, I don't know, slowing the cars down, I don't know, making a spec class that is kind of followed across the nation, maybe something. You know, we follow our 21.5 class. We kind of follow the rules that Jason has for the independent, or what he calls independent 21.5. We do allow a couple different motor manufacturers, but, you know, it's a good kind of stepping point for guys that are starting. You know, I don't know, I'd be probably intimidated if I came into a hobby shop and say, hey, I want to do this, built myself a 17.5 car with, you know, the best stuff, and not have the ability to drive like some of the fast guys. It's just, you know, you know, you come in and spend, you know, $1,000, $1,200, $1,300, and go, okay, I'm in the way. So
yeah, no doubt.
You know, so I don't know. It's one of those things. I think we got a pretty good program going here, and kind of keep it going. Car wise, I don't know. Vintage. Everyone needs to re-release old vintage cars, like Associated did, and how Tamiya does it. So Lofi needs to come out with a re-release JRX2 or something. MIP needs to make their 410 Legend kit again, so now that I can afford it, I can buy it. Yeah.
Well, it's unaffordable now. When you find one on eBay, it's unaffordable, right?
Oh yeah, it was like $1,000 for a kit. I was like, yep, I can't afford it yet. Again, I couldn't afford it as a kid and can't afford it as an adult.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. Vintage seems to be pretty cool. And re-releasing, like Tamiya re-released a bunch of their old kits. And we have guys, you know, that were in the hobby, and they walk in and they see like the re-released Frog or the Grasshopper, or I think our newest kit that we got in is the Subaru, Brat. Mm-hmm. And people come in and say, hey, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it did the same thing. It's the same chassis.
The second and third time's the charm, right?
Yep. And
then,
having those kits, I don't know.
A quickie question from your buddy James here is, what are you going to do with the new 1/8 scale Brian Mayfield Mugen?
Yeah. I don't know. It's sitting in the case right now. I had Ryan build a Mugen MBX 8 Eco, I think it is. That is the number. Their newest 8-scale electric buggy. With everything that happened and us being closed, a lot of the 10-scale guys that raced here bought 8 scales and went out to Tony Schumacher's place, his private track on his property, and ran 8-scale e-buggy. So while that was happening, I, had some text messages and, hey, can we rent e-buggy once we get back up and going? My thing with e-buggy is they're pretty big, pretty fast. Not everyone is driving skills Ryan Mayfield or Spencer. So when you have that much power and that much weight, it gets kind of hairy sometimes. And how many people we have walk in just to watch racing? They get, the worst thing that could happen is one of those things fly off the track and hit some kid or hit some mom or dad. So I don't know. It might be a test vehicle. My skill level has diminished in my old age, so I could be a bad driver with too much power. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened with that buggy is some test sessions out on the track with a unskilled driver and too much power, and see what happens. Hopefully, I don't drive it through the glass windows at the end of the straightaway. And I don't know. I might make it to one of the big 8-scale races like Silver States or something like that.
That'd be so cool to have you over there.
There's gambling,
and
RC cars. What else can you ask for?
Oh,
I know.
Must be a gambling, you said?
Gambling. Yeah, is in Vegas.
Oh, you must be a Michael Jordan fan.
No, I still have all my fingertips. Jason's gonna get mad right now.
No,
I love it. Okay, he's good. Yeah.
Well, he cut the tip of his finger with a cigar cutter, right?
Right. He did by accident.
I actually know the real story behind that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Spill the beans.
Anyway, I worked with somebody at Trinity that said that he was caught cheating and his wife attacked him.
Ooh.
Jason, care to comment?
That's a better story than what I thought, so.
Yeah, what Larry was alluding to was well, we're here with Gotti. He's the Mr. Conspiracy Theorist. He's got. I can't say that it was the mob because there's no such thing as the mob.
No, that's made up by the feds.
The mob.
Okay. Because that's what the direction Larry was going, is he was going to say that he got in trouble with the mob.
That's what you're assuming.
Okay.
Allegedly, I better say allegedly, so I don't get sued by Jordan here.
Yeah, allegedly, I don't have no idea who his debts may have been to. So
we'll edit this part out for you, Jason. Don't worry.
It's fine. I got my own deal.
Yeah, the wrong one.
Oh.
Anyway,
that's a good story, though. I have to use that one. I can see that happening, and yeah, Tiger got the golf club through his window, and
this person had an inside source to Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the question, yeah.
go on to RC so I can edit this out.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You can put it in there. So, as we kind of ease into the end here, Larry, give us a shout out on, first of all, let's hear the location of the 2 stores, how you can buy, whether in person or online, and and then go into some people you want to thank.
Yeah. So we have 2 locations, one in Tempe, Arizona at 705 East Guadalupe Road. That is our standalone hobby shop. We have RC cars, planes, boats, model rockets, models, all at that shop. And then we have our racetrack location here in Chandler at 855 North 54th Street in Chandler. And we have our racetrack. The track is open 7 days a week. We do racing on Wednesday nights and Saturdays. Practice all the other times that we're open. $15 to practice, which is a steal here in Arizona because it's like 111 outside right now. You get free AC for $15, and you can sit in here all day. Racing is $20 a class, $15 for each additional class. Like I said, we race on Wednesday nights at 7, Saturdays starting at 1. That includes practice. So on Wednesday, if you wanted to come in here at 10 o'clock, you pay for your racing. You could sit here pretty much for like 12 hours and with your RC car. And then if you want to shop online, we go to hobbyaction.net and go to that page, and they'll have our live inventory. And we also have an eBay store that's linked to our webpage. So that has live inventory also. If you don't see it, send us an email. You can send it to me at larry@hobbyaction.com or sales@hobbyaction.com. Both stores are now officially all the way back open to normal business hours. So Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, and then Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5. The racetrack hours do vary a little bit because the store stays open until we're done racing. So if you break something, you can still get parts. Shout out wise, all the guys that help with the store, James, Nick, Brian at our Tempe store. At our Tempe store, we have Brian, who's the manager. Nick floats in and out. I float in and out over at the Tempe store. We have Chris Craig, Matt Warner, and Tyler Jones over there. They all kind of have their specialties, whether it be tractor trucks or airplanes. And then over here we have James, Jason Campus, who's our new guy. Chicago Mike, he's the old Asian guy that's in here. Everyone that comes in here that doesn't know him thinks he's my dad or my uncle, and they'll ask, "Hey, so your dad over there?" Just because he's Asian doesn't mean we're related. And Ethan, Riley, Brett, those guys all bust their butts when they're here working, and all the guys that come and support us and race. We'll get through this past 2 months have been crazy, but we're going to get back up. And I was using the hashtag "We Will Race Again," and we are going to race again starting next Wednesday. CJ was our Wednesday race director. He's actually going to be tied up a little bit, so he's has relieved himself of his duties as our Wednesday race director. But we have a couple of backups, and if you want to race direct, let me know on a Wednesday night. So we pay pretty well for race directing if you want to race direct.
Do you pay relocation fees?
No, that is not part of the fee. That's not a part of the pay structure.
Oh, I'm out. And
then Richard Lake, who's our main guy on the weekends, does a bang up job. He's always there for me. So anytime I ask him to do something, he's there. And then our track crew, Scott, and those guys help us build awesome tracks. Jerry running our skid steers, and before I forget, our guys that help us out the most on rebuilding tracks, P1 Paving, they donate the equipment every single time we ask. So that's a huge cost. If you guys, all the track owners know how much it costs to rent skid steers for the weekend. They let us use a couple every weekend. So Bobby Slauson and Matt Tormey, those guys are awesome. They help us out every time we ask. And it's awesome. Like the stuff that we do, the amount of help that we get, the volunteers that we get, we can't do it without them. It's a lot of work and it's crazy sometimes, but stressful sometimes. But when we have an event and everyone's happy, and I might get yelled at a couple times by some guys, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I know most of those guys that yell at me.
Yeah.
Me too.
So it's fun as long as the event goes well. We entertain people and we promote this hobby and promote the fine products that we sell. It's a win. Sometimes people leave mad because they didn't win, but it is what it is. They'll be back next time, and hopefully they'll win that time.
Absolutely.
You try again.
Try again. Hit reset button.
Before you go, any sports predictions for the rest of this year? Is anything going to get started, or are we going to finish the NBA season? What kind of predictions you got there?
Well, I'm tired of watching. So I'm an avid sports fan here in Arizona. So I am tired of watching the only Super Bowl the Arizona Cardinals have ever been into, and that lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost with like 2 minutes left in the game. It was on the other day on the NFL Network, and Larry Fitzgerald scores with like 2 minutes and 47 seconds left. Yep. And every time I've watched that replay, I turn it off at that point because they won.
Right.
But they end up losing because bad refereeing. But another story.
Absolutely.
But football, I've watched replays of that. I've watched replays of the Phoenix Suns. I've watched replays of the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series against the Yankees. So I'm tired of watching replays, and I'm ready for real sports. Hopefully we get to end college sports. I love college sports. I'm a huge fan of University of Arizona. Went to school there, and love watching them play sports. So my favorite: college football, college basketball, probably NFL football after that. So the Cardinals. Hopefully we get to go watch a game in real live time this year. I don't have too high hopes, but hopefully we get to see something. Cardinals are supposed to be good this year. I don't know.
Oh, this is the year?
This is supposed to be their year. I don't know, but I don't know. That's the talk. Hopefully they're good. Yep. And hopefully I get to watch them in real life.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And baseball. I don't know. We're supposed to be playing baseball right now. But I'm tired of watching cornhole.
Do you remember when the Bulls beat the Suns in the 93 finals?
Maybe. I do remember Danny Ainge coming off from guarding Paxton when they're up. The Suns were up by 2. I think Cartwright had got the ball down low, and Ainge went to double team. Why? If they score 2, they go into overtime. But he went to double team, dropped down. He kicks it out to John Paxson, and Paxson drains a 3 to put a dagger in my heart.
That's right.
Yes, I don't remember that at all.
Not MJ, Paxton.
Well, Michael scored on the possession before.
Oh.
But yeah,
what was he called?
That was a good run by the Suns.
From the foul line, I'm sure, right? Free throws.
No. It was a layup. He got right to the basket for a layup.
Yeah. Well, everybody was afraid to guard him and get called a foul.
He probably pushed off on KJ, so
yeah,
probably
to get open.
Yeah. See.
Just like he pushed off on
Brian Russell.
Who's the guy from Brian Russell.
Yeah. I mean,
but he did put a dagger at the heart of the Cleveland Cavaliers too. And what's his name? He didn't push off on that one.
Craig Elo.
Yeah, that was like, if you ever watch like a heartbreaking moment, that's one of them. Like, ABC Wild Water Sports, when the guy flips off the ski jump, he nearly kills himself. Elo's reaction when Jordan drains that is one of those, man, this sucks.
I saw they had an interview with Karl Malone the other day, and they asked him to talk about Jordan, and he's like, "What do you want to know?" He's like, "Oh, what do you think?" He's like, "He's Michael Jordan." I'm Carl Malone. He's a bad MFer. I'm a bad MFer too. It was actually really funny. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, what do you think about that moment he stole the ball from?" He's like, "I don't want to talk about it."
Yeah,
It's funny. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, these guys just made an obscene amount of money.
Yes.
And it's entertainment. It really is what it comes down to. And hopefully a little enjoyment for the people that watch, like Gotti watching all those wins for the Patriots. Oh, did you know Gotti was a Patriots fan? That's probably not good for the Arizona guy.
Good thing I didn't know that before the interview.
That would have been like, there's no way I'm going to go through all this live BS with you trying to get this to go live.
I didn't even try. I was just dragging you guys along.
All right, Larry. Well, thanks for everything. Thanks for the patience. Thanks for being on. Yep. This is going to be good. And we like to get kind of mix it up. We go, racers, new school, old school. Then we go, track owners, hobby shop owners. We just kind of all over the place and
cool.
Mix it up. So this has been great.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
What can you say? Larry Tom. There he is. He almost was our very first guest on our live feed. Almost.
Mm-hmm. Almost.
Just few hiccups on his end, and we just couldn't get it straightened out. So
just a little audio short.
Yeah. Got the video fine. No audio.
Yeah.
So that would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give it a shot, though, next time. See how this goes. We've been testing in the background here. Everything looks good.
Yeah, I like your little setup that you got going with, you got your little Kobe bobblehead going here. It's really cool.
I got the Kobe bobblehead. I got Lysol over here. Not that they sponsored the show, but
they could.
They could. That was episode 212. 212.
212.
All right, guys. Catch you in 213.
Thanks so much. We'll see you later.